Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kopijana Vallabha Girivarada Hari Kopijana Vallabha Girivarada Hari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jai Vishnu Pada Paramamsa Parivrajakacharya Astotat Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnu Pada Paramamsa Parivrajakacharya Astota Sata Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem Siko Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram Ki Jai, Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Ki Jai, Shri Shri Krishna Chandra Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagna Ki Jai, Priyat Mridanga Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, Hare Krishna once again, dear devotees, and welcome to the morning Bhagavatam class. Just confirming Karuna Chaitanya Prabhu, for what time should I speak to? Okay, we'll just start.
Up until 8:45, and then
Yeah.
we can have a question answer session.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Everybody, if you can please join in reciting the Mangal Archanam prayers. So where we beg for the mercy of the spiritual masters and of our dearest Lord. And I beg for the mercy of all you Vaishnavas that we can just immerse ourselves and absorb ourselves in this pastimes of Bhishma Dev. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuda Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine Snigdha Cheta Supraneta Vagminachara Saplutam Prabhupada Kata Prana Name Bhakti Charupadam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat uttama shloki bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, today, as Karuna Chaitanya Prabhu has mentioned, we'll be speaking from Canto 1, Chapter 9. And Chapter 9 is such a wonderful and amazing chapter, and it's entitled The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev in the Presence of Lord Krishna. So before going to America, Srila Prabhupada, he went to visit his god brothers, and then he went to go beg for the mercy of his brothers and seek their blessing so that he could go to the West and that he could spread this knowledge. So then one devotee, god brother, said to Srila Prabhupada, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I hear that you're going to America." And then Srila Prabhupada just said, "I'm not going to America. The Bhagavatam is going to America." So we can see the mood that Srila Prabhupada imbibed and how grateful we all should be to Srila Prabhupada and indebted to Srila Prabhupada that just to imbibe his mood, and that his mood was that I'm just a servant of the servant of the servant. And if you, dearest Lord, if you kindly empower me, you can, as Srila Prabhupada says in the prayer, you can make me dance. And Srila Prabhupada just begged and for the mercy of our dearest Lord. And we can see in these pastimes of Bhishma Dev, if we just sincerely try to approach the spiritual master, try to approach the Lord also in this submissive mood, and just beg to be instruments in the hands, Lord, in the hands of the Lord, that this process that Srila Prabhupada assures even our dearest Lord, Sri Krishna, reassures us and gives us that faith that we will make perfection in this lifetime. And let us start now by reading these verses and immerse ourselves. And as we all know, we are living in this material world, and a verse that is so nice to meditate upon and absorb ourselves on is in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 14, text 58, and translation, which I'll read. For those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. The goal is Param Padam, Vaikuntha, the place where there's no material miseries, not the place where there's danger at every step. So, Canto 1, Chapter 9, text 46. Let me just share the screen. Canto 1, Chapter 9, text 46. Tasya nirharan dini samparetesya bhargava yudhishtira kara yitva murtam dukhito bhavat. Tasya, his nirharani adini funeral ceremony, samparetesya of the dead body, Bhargava, O descendant of Brigu, Yudhisthira, Maharaj Yudhisthira, Karayitva, having performed it, Muhurtam, for a moment, Dukhitaha, sorry, Abhavat, became. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O descendant of Brigu, Shaunaka, after performing funeral rituals for the dead body of Bhishma Dev, Maharaj Yudhisthira was momentarily overtaken with grief. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Bhishma Dev was not only a great family head of Maharaj Yudhisthira, but also he was a great philosopher and friend to him, his brothers and his mother. Since Maharaj Pandu, the father of the 5 brothers, headed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, had died, Bhishma Dev was the most affectionate grandfather of the Pandavas and the caretaker of the widow, daughter-in-law Kunti Devi. Although Maharaj Dhritarashtra, the elder uncle of Maharaj Yudhishthira, was there to look after them, his affection was more on the side of his 100 sons, headed by Duryodhana. Ultimately, a colossal cliché was fabricated to deprive the 5 fatherless brothers of the rightful claim of the kingdom of Hastinapura. There was great intrigue common in imperial palaces, and the 5 brothers were exiled to the wilderness. But Bhishma Dev was always a sincere, sympathetic well-wisher, grandfather, friend, and philosopher to Maharaj Yudhishthira, even up to the last moment of his life. He died very happily by seeing Maharaj Yudhishthira to the throne. Otherwise, he would have long ago quitted his material body instead of suffering agony over the undue suffering of the Pandavas. He was simply waiting for the opportune moment because he was sure and certain that the sons of Pandu would come out victorious on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, as his lordship, Sri Krishna, was their protector. As a devotee of the Lord, he knew that the Lord's devotee cannot be vanquished at any time. Maharaj Yudhishthira was quite aware of all these good wishes of Bhishma Dev, and therefore he must have been feeling the great separation. He was sorry for the separation of a great soul and not for the material body which Bhishma Dev relinquished. The funeral ceremony was a necessary duty, although Bhishma Dev was a liberated soul. Since Bhishma Dev was without issue, the eldest grandson, namely Maharaj Yudhishthira, was the rightful person to perform the ceremony. It was a great boon to Bhishma Dev that an equally great son of the family undertook the last rites of a great man. So in this verse, dear devotees, we can see the amazing qualities of Bhishma Dev, that he was a great philosopher. He's actually a Mahajan, a great personality who understands the scriptures. And because he understood the scriptures, he understood who is Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also understood his constitutional position, that he is just a servant. And we can see from this entire chapter how wonderful he played the role of a great warrior and a friend to the Pandavas. And he knew his constitutional position, that just to become a servant and just to understand his position and his role. And because he understood the Vedas, he was aware of Lord Krishna's position. And he's such an exemplary personality that we can pray to him as well for guidance, for spiritual wisdom, for spiritual knowledge, to understand our constitutional position and what our role should be moment by moment. And we can see from these pastimes how he was absorbed, even up until the last stage of his life, that he was just absorbed in thinking of the Lord, in remembering the Lord, despite him being involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. So we can also draw a similarity, dear devotees, that we can see that although we are busy in our daily activities, how we can also dovetail these activities and also try to be instruments in the Lord's hands by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, that we also try to, while doing our activities, just be absorbed in the Lord's, in thinking of the Lord, in hearing, in chanting and remembering. So we can see and take example from Bhishmadev, that how he cultivated this knowledge, and yeah, how caring and compassionate he was towards Kunti Devi and the Pandavas, and they also had great respect for him, as we can see from this verse. And he was sincere, he was sympathetic, he was a well-wisher, and although he was their grandfather of the Pandavas and the Kauravas, he was also their great friend, and he gave so much guidance and affection to the Pandavas, because we can see the distinction between Duryodhana and Maharaj Yudhishthir. We can see so many exemplary qualities, and we can just also pray to the Pandavas that, yeah, please, in this lifetime, yeah, how can I serve? How can I be absorbed like you were, not only in our scriptures, but also in giving this Krishna consciousness to everybody. And in this verse, we can just see, actually in these pastimes of Bhishmadev, the passing away, we can see how Lord Krishna, he always protects his devotees, and we can see how amazing it is, and the Lord's mercy. If we look at Bhagavad Gita verse 931, Shripram Bhavati Dharmatma Sasvacha Chantim Nigachati Kunteya Pratijanihi Name Bhaktaya Pranasyati. And the translation that the Lord gives, that's why it's so important when we start our day, we have to have that sankalpa that I want to hear from you, dearest Lord. How can I hear from you? And how do we hear from Lord Krishna? Is by reading and understanding Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is such an important part of our lives, and we should relish, and we have so much to be grateful for to Srila Prabhupada, because an attitude of gratitude, as Chaitanya Charan Prabhu always quotes, that an attitude of gratitude gives one the fortitude to deal with life's most challenging situations. So if we're looking to connect and be absorbed in the Lord and in his teachings, and how can we lead our lives in the same way that Bhishmadev and the Pandavas led their lives, we can just hear from Lord Krishna. And in here, this verse 931, in the translation, we can see how Lord Krishna, he gives us that reassurance, that he says here that he quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So we can see also, a verse that Srila Prabhupada often quoted is Rakhe Krishna Mare Ke, Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke. So the translation is, if Lord Krishna wants to kill you, nobody can save you. But if Lord Krishna wants to protect you, then no one can kill you. So we can see also, dear devotees, that from this verse, that Duryodhana, he chose Krishna's army, but the Pandavas, Arjuna, they chose Lord Krishna to be on their side. And we can see that from these pastimes, how Bhishma Dev, he was aware that if you choose the Lord and if you side with the Lord, there's all victory. Where is the doubt? Where is the doubt? Where is the doubt? We just have to turn to the Lord, and we just have to beg to Guru and Gauranga for their mercy. How can we utilize these lives in their service? How can we act in such a way that will please them? How can we show compassion towards each other? How can we show compassion towards others as well and help them just be instruments, as Srila Prabhupada was an instrument to give us this Krishna consciousness, this wonderful and amazing process. And if we look at the morning program, we sing Samsara Dava, and I just like to recite like the last line, and we see like Bailam Yasha Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasha Prasada Nagati Kutopi Twayam Stuvam Stasya Yasa Sri Sandhyam Vande Guru Sri Charana Ravindam. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master. At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master. So we can see how exemplary and how fortunate we are, dear devotees, that Srila Prabhupada has given us this process to follow, this Bhagavatam, this Bhagavad Gita, also that it will help us to become absorbed like Bhishma Dev in these pastimes, in thinking of the Lord, in whatever we do, whatever activities we do, we can just pray to Krishna, pray to Guru. Dearest Lord, you are the ability within me. Please let me act in a mood and in a way that's pleasing to you. So you can see as well that from this verse that Bhishma Devi was a surrendered soul to Lord Krishna. And what does it mean to be a soul surrendered according to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that there's 6 aspects of surrender. Number 1 is humility, where we give up all pride and become a servant. And a verse that we can imbibe is, and that comes to mind, is from the Shikshashtakam. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sayishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. That one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself to be lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready and willing to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So we can see how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well has made this process for us to be absorbed in our sadhana bhakti whilst doing our activities. This process is so amazing, and just by trying to imbibe some of these qualities, praying to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, praying to Bhishma Dev, praying to Yudhishthir Maharaj and our acharyas, that how can we develop humility, how can we give up all pride and just become a servant and be absorbed. Number 2 is offering or giving oneself completely to the Lord. Number 3 is accepting that the Lord is one's only Lord and Master. So we can see even in the Bhagavad Gita how Arjuna, he approached the Lord and he said, Lord Krishna, now my soul surrendered unto you, and I beg you to please instruct me what is best for me, what is right for me. So yeah, that's offering and giving oneself completely to the Lord, and just praying to the Lord, I just depend upon you moment by moment, and just having that implicit faith. And I hope that one day I can also develop this, that accepting that Lord Krishna is our only Lord and Master, that I don't want to be a Lord and Master. I just want, to depend upon you. And we can see from this verse as well that Bhishma Dev and the Pandavas had that implicit faith that Lord Krishna is our only protector. They could turn to him at any moment. And we can see, like from the past time as well, when Duryodhana sent the sages on the prasadam, and he knew at what time Draupadi had already finished the prasadam, so that there wouldn't be prasadam left. So yeah, he put this anxiety on the Pandavas, but what did the Pandavas do? They turned to Lord Krishna, and yeah, you can see how merciful the Lord is, that not only did he protect his devotees, but he also relieved them of any anxieties. So yeah, that's just a mercy of this Krishna consciousness process, that Krishna is making it, and Guru Parampara is making it so accessible for us to access this wonderful and amazing teachings and this process. And number 5 and number 6 is accepting everything favorable for devotional service and rejecting everything not favorable for devotional service. So yeah, let us move on. 931, Shipram Bhavati. Sorry, that's not it. 47. Tustuvur Manayo Rishtaya Krishnam Tad Kuya Nama Bihiha Tataste Krishna Radaya Sarvashman Prayayu Punaha. Translation. All the great sages then glorified Lord Krishna, who was present there by confidential Vedic hymns. Then all of them returned to their respective hermitages, bearing always Lord Krishna within their hearts. So we can see as well that our acharyas, they have given this amazing songs as well, songs of that's hymns and mantras for glorifying Radha and Krishna, and for also reminding us in these songs. For example, if you look at a song like Bhaja Remana Srinanda Nandana Abhaya Charana Ravindare, like, my dearest Lord, yeah, O son of Nanda, yeah, please engage my mind in always thinking of you. So we can see that just by reciting these hymns and these songs that the acharyas have given, not only can we glorify the Lord, and it also gives us the instructions as to how we can become absorbed in thinking of the Lord and how merciful the Lord is. So if you read this purport, we can derive like great solace and faith, as is mentioned here, that implicit faith that Lord Krishna is my protector. And the purport says the devotees of the Lord are always in the heart of the Lord. And the Lord is always in the heart of the devotees. That is the sweet relation between the Lord and his devotees. Due to unalloyed love and devotion for the Lord, the devotees always see him within themselves. And the Lord also, although he has nothing to do and nothing to aspire to, is always busy in attending to the welfare of his devotees. For the ordinary living beings, the law of nature is there for all actions and reactions, but he is always anxious to put his devotees on the right path. The devotees, therefore, are under the direct care of the Lord, and the Lord also voluntarily puts himself under the care of his devotees only. So all the sages headed by Vyasadeva were devotees of the Lord, and therefore they chanted the Vedic hymns after the funeral ceremony, just to please the Lord, who was present there personally. All the Vedic hymns are chanted to please Lord Krishna, and this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15. All the Vedas, Upanishads, Vedanta, etc. are seeking him only, and all hymns are for glorifying him only. The sages therefore performed the exact acts suitable for the purpose, and they happily departed for their respective hermitages. So we can see from the Bhagavad Gita verse Sarvasya chaham hridi sani vishto mataha smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedascha sarver aham eva vedyo vedanta krida vida vid eva chaham. Translation: I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So we can see that from this verse, how Lord Krishna, he wants us to align ourselves with him, to be absorbed in thinking of him, to have that dependence upon him, just as the Pandavas aligned themselves and had that dependence upon Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna, he wants us to become our best selves. And there's that loving reciprocation of love between Lord Krishna and his devotees. And we can see that from this amazing purport, that the devotees of the Lord are always in the heart of the Lord, and the Lord is always in the heart of the devotees. So Lord Krishna is sitting so close by, we're just waiting for us to turn to him. And that is the relationship, as you can see from this purport, between the Lord and his devotees, how compassionate and caring the Lord is. And we can see as well that these are the wonderful qualities of Maharaj Yudhishthir, that although he was momentarily overtaken with grief, and Srila Prabhupada explains that we are not stone, but love and affection are the natural symptoms of the soul. And Srila Prabhupada often quotes that affection is the need of the spirit soul. Srila Prabhupada also quotes that to cut off the tie of all other affections does not mean complete negation of the finer elements. That is not possible. A living being, whoever he may be, must have this affection for others, because this is a symptom of the soul. And that's also from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.42. And we can see also how Lord Krishna is also reciprocating with us, and he gives that reassurance that he will protect us in all situations. If we just read the pastimes in Krishna book, and we can see, for example, the Agasura demon pastime where the cowherd boys enter the demon's mouth. And we can see that also Lord Krishna, because he cares for his devotees, he was momentarily, he felt this grief. And yeah, we can see that how he then protected his devotees, the cowherd boys, and he gave that reassurance. Even we can see that in the lifting of Govardhan, where he just reassured the residents of Vrindavan, just do this offering to me, just turn to me, just please me. And we can see he showed so much love, so much affection, that he gave them protection. How? By lifting Govardhan hill. And this gives us a reassurance from the Lord himself that if you just turn to me, I'll turn to you. He's eagerly waiting for us to take that step. So this is a loving relationship that we have with the Lord. And yeah, each and every morning we have that opportunity in this day and age. How? To turn to the Lord by chanting his holy names. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva katiranyata. That in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means by which one can obtain deliverance is by chanting the holy names of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. So that is the relationship that we all individually and personally share with the Lord. And the Lord is residing in our hearts. And if we chant sincerely and pray to the Lord by hearing from him, by chanting, then by hearing and chanting is equals remembrance. And if we're remembering, that means we are trying our best to absorb. So hearing, chanting, remembering, being absorbed as Bhishma Dev was being absorbed in the pastimes of the Lord and just performing his duty. And then once we are absorbed, we can then distribute. We can give the same knowledge and also help others on their spiritual journey. Just be instruments and spread the glories of the holy name as we do so, as we try to do so. The next verse, verse 48. Tato Yudhishthiro Gatva Saha Krishno Gajavyam Pitram Santvayam Asha Gandir Cha Tapasvinim. Translation. Thereafter, Maharaj Yudhishthir at once went to his capital, Hastinapura, accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, and there he consoled his uncle and aunt Gandhari, who was an ascetic. Purport. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, the father and mother of Duryodhana, and his brothers were the elder uncle and aunt of Maharaj Yudhishthira. After the battle of Kurukshetra, the celebrated couple, having lost all their sons and grandsons, were under the care of Maharaj Yudhishthira. They were passing their days in great agony over such a heavy loss of life and were practically living the life of ascetics. The death news of Bhishma Dev, uncle of Dhritarashtra, was another great shock for the king and queen, and therefore they required solace from Maharaj Yudhishthira. Maharaj Yudhishthira was conscious of his duty, and he at once hurried to the spot with Lord Krishna and satisfied the bereaved Dhritarashtra with kind words from both himself and the Lord also. Gandhari was a powerful ascetic, although she was living the life of a faithful wife and a kind mother. It is said that Gandhari also voluntarily blindfolded her eyes and because of the blindness of her husband. A wife's duty is to follow the husband 100%. And Gandhari was so true to her husband that she followed him even in his perpetual blindness. Therefore, in her actions, she was a great ascetic. Besides that, the shock she suffered because of the wholesale killing of her 100 sons and her grandsons was also certainly too much for a woman. But she suffered all this just like an ascetic. Gandhari, although a woman, is no less than Bhishma Dev in character. They are both remarkable personalities in the Mahabharata. So we can see that even the Pandavas, Maharaj Yudhishthir, as I mentioned before, he was aware of his position because he was in the association of Bhishma Dev. He learned so many things. He turned to Bhishma Dev for spiritual wisdom, for spiritual guidance. He also turned to Lord Sri Krishna, the Pandavas, Arjuna in this classic example. He turns to Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and he prays to the Lord that please help me and please guide me. And we can see, like from this example, the exemplary qualities of Yudhishthir Maharaj, that it wasn't like tit for tat, like in today's modern world, that if I do this, I'm going to get back at you. But Maharaj Yudhishthir, he had this amazing qualities that he was still compassionate, he was still the ideal leader, and he's still the ideal king. He also understood the Vedic principles and what it means to be a leader. So we can see and we can learn from Maharaj Yudhishthir that the duties of a leader is to care for all the citizens. And we can see how Maharaj Yudhishthir, he led the kingdom and he was guided by spiritual knowledge, and he understood spiritual knowledge and he understood what is his duty. His duty was to make sure that every resident is following the rules and regulations and was fully absorbed also in the constitutional position of serving the Lord, becoming Krishna conscious. And we can also see the qualities of the relationship in this verse between Gandhari and Dhritarashtra, that, how amazing personality she is, and both of them are, and how she sacrificed her life as well, and how she blindfolded herself so she could also live the life, a simple life, and just share this ashram, as is mentioned here, this Grihastha ashram, with her husband. And that Maharaj Yudhishthir, we can also see from this verse his compassion towards his uncle and aunt. He didn't just write them off, he went to console them, and he showed his emotion, and that are exemplary qualities that we can also pray to imbibe, that let us be compassionate, let us be caring towards others, let us be also try to be instruments in the Lord's hands, just to help them as well and to guide them. And we can see what a simple life Dhritarashtra and Gandhari chose to live thereafter, retire to the forest, and just live a simple life, and just also be absorbed in Krishna Katha. And they entrusted the kingdom, and we can see, like Maharaj Yudhishthir, he first seek their blessings before he ruled the kingdom, and also prayed for their blessings to be guided. So once again, he was also absorbed in the teachings, and he understood what is his role, what is his duty. Verse 49. Pitra chanumato raja vasudevanum dodita chakara rajyam dharmena pitrir paitamam vibhuha. Translation. After this, the great religious king Maharaj Yudhishthira executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes of royal principles approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Shri Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Yudhishthir was not a mere tax collector. He was always conscious of his duty as a king, which is no less than that of a father or spiritual master. The king is to see to the welfare of the citizens from all angles of social, political, economical, and spiritual upliftment. The king must know that human form of life is meant for liberating the engaged soul from the bondage of material conditions, and therefore his duty is to see that the citizens are properly looked after to attain this highest stage of perfection. Maharaj Yudhishthir followed these principles strictly, as will be seen from the next chapter. Not only did he follow the principles, but he also got approval from his old uncle, who was experienced in political affairs. And that was also confirmed by Lord Krishna, the speaker of the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. Maharaj Yudhishthira is the ideal monarch, and monarchy under a trained king like Maharaj Yudhishthira is by far the most superior form of government, superior to modern republics of governments of the people by the people. The mass of people, especially in this age of Kali, are all born Sudras, basically low-born, ill-trained, unfortunate, and badly associated. They themselves do not know the highest perfectional aim of life. Therefore, votes cast by them actually have no value, and thus persons elected by such irresponsible votes cannot be responsible representatives like Maharaj Yudhishthira. Thus in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev in the Presence of Lord Krishna. So this verse, we can just see in the purport given by Srila Prabhupada, once again highlighting the qualities of Yudhishthira Maharaj, that if we just compare the qualities of Maharaj Yudhishthira to, for example, a modern day leader, as we always hear, we have guided missiles, but we have misguided men. So if we understand this mood of Yudhishthira Maharaj, and we see how exemplary he was and how caring from the first paragraph, he was always conscious of his duty. He wasn't a mere tax collector. He wasn't looking after his own benefit and looking after himself and not caring for the next person. No, he was concerned. He was so concerned, like Srila Prabhupada, he was so concerned for the welfare and the well-being of every soul that he took it upon himself by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and just having that dependence on the Lord that, please, dearest Lord, please, he's trying also to follow Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's instruction that go to the West, spread this knowledge, spread this wisdom. So we are indeed grateful and thankful, and Bhagavatam just gives us everything in a nutshell. Bhagavad Gita is Lord Krishna's instructions to us. So every day, let us try to absorb ourselves. How can we become absorbed? By hearing from Lord Krishna. These days, there are so many ways that we can become absorbed in hearing, chanting, and remembering. We just have to put on our phones and we can immediately be connected to this amazing teachings and hearing from Lord Krishna. There's an amazing website called Prabhupada Vani, and it's got all the recitations of Bhagavad Gita, has all of these narrations of Bhagavatam as well. So we can see that this process of being absorbed, like Bhishma Dev, before passing away, he was so absorbed and he just had full and firm faith in the Lord and in the process that the Lord will protect him, will protect all of us. The Lord will look after his devotees and his devotee never perishes. So one way we can become absorbed anytime, any place, any circumstance is by chanting the holy names of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada often mentions that just here, when we chant, just here, as we read in that Bhagavad Gita verse, I'm situated in the heart of all living entities. That's Lord Krishna. If we just turn to him, he's so close, he's so near, that often it is quoted, we might just miss this boat. But yeah, we might just, it's just so simple, we might just miss out on it. But if we try to help ourselves in the association of devotees, yeah, and just try to absorb ourselves in our japa, in our chanting, and then this process, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made it so easy in this day and age that just by trying to sincerely chant the holy names of the Lord, one, the Lord gives a reassurance that, yeah, that he will protect us. And number two, this process is joyfully performed, and yeah, that he will give all protection and he's all merciful and his name is non-different from himself. So dearest devotees, yeah, let us just end on that note. And yeah, if we can do our best moment by moment to be absorbed in these pastimes of the Lord, pastimes of great personalities like Bhishma Dev, Yudhishthira Maharaj, and have a receptive heart, because hearing is the most important. Even if we look at the hymns that Vyasadeva and the great sages chanted. If you look at the bhajan like Bhajo, Remana, Srinanda, Nandana, the process is there. The 9 processes of devotional service can help us tremendously. And if we immerse ourselves in these 9 processes, we can also achieve in this lifetime that same perfection. And yeah, with that said, yeah, Lord Krishna, to sum up, he came before Bhishmadev as he promised, and he will certainly come before us. And everyone can achieve the state if we just follow in the footsteps of the great Vaishnavas and pray to them, live moment by moment and strive to be absorbed as well. And how can we be absorbed? Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyajimam namashkuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijani priyosime. Bhagavad Gita 18.65. Translation: always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So with that said, dearest devotees, please forgive me if I've created any offenses. If there are any questions, comments, or corrections, please let me know, because I would also like to improve and become better. And have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. And once again, the key word, let us hear, chant, remember, and be absorbed in this wonderful and amazing Krishna conscious process. And we thank Guru and Gauranga for bestowing their richest blessings and mercy and giving us so much nectar. We can spend the whole day just speaking about Krishna Katha, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So yeah, that is this most amazing process that Srila Prabhupada has given us. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Manohar, Govinda, Prabhu. Thank you so much for explaining the verses so nicely. I request all the devotees to come forward and ask any questions if you have, or share any realizations as well. It'll be nice to hear from all of you. It looks like everyone is happy and content with your explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you everybody for your association, and have a wonderful Krishna conscious day.
Thank you
Thank
once
you
again,
once
Manohar,
again
Govinda, Prabhu.
for Karuna Chaitanya Prabhu for the opportunity to try to share something, and all glories to your service.
Thank you, Prabhu. It's very purifying to study Bhagavatam together.
Yeah,
His Grace Manohar Govind Prabhu ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hope to hear from you again and again, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu, and from you too.
Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.